For the people who don't know what RPE is, we'll just give you a little bit of a better explanation too, just so you're not left confused. Because I know some people are like, what's an RPE? How do I work it out? What's my one? So, just to break it down, Steph, what does RPE stand for?
Yeah, so RPE stands for rate of perceived exertion. We usually use the RPE scale from a 1 to 10.
Mhm.
So 1 being right now sitting, feeling absolute baseline, no difference, no waves. This is our lower limit. We know that we're fine. It's the green zone, it's the safe zone.
RPE, rate of perceived exertion, is basically what I perceive as hard, 10 being really hard and 1 being really easy. If you're watching this on video and not listening to this on audio, you can see I've got a diagram up of a battery, I guess you could say. And 1 is like dark green zone, as exactly what Steph said. It's not hard. It's like a 1 out of 10. It's like, whatever. Didn't really feel it. Wasn't much. Mm.
Yeah. And then, as you said, on that other end of the spectrum, we have that 10, which is where often if we're in the beginning of the program, that's that danger zone where I say, hang on, are you leading into a crash? Are you checking in? Does this feel okay? And some people can push towards a 7 and 8 plus out of 10, but they also understand when they need to come back to that green zone or back to that 1. So they have a
Mm.
really good concept of what their RPE or what their baseline looks like. And if you don't, and you're beginning to go into that higher area or into that red or orange zone, it's a lot harder to come back to green and feel safe when
Yeah.
moving.
Yeah. Regulated, basically.
Yeah,
So this is
I
a
think
great
that's the word.
conversation to have because most people know there's 3 stages of recovery. Stage 1 is like the acute stage where, you're deeply suffering and your symptoms are really severe and basically your body's super inflamed and you've got lots of symptoms. And so we would highly recommend you stay on the lower end of your rate of perceived exertion every single day. Now, that doesn't mean you do nothing because we know that doesn't work either. You've really got to find your sweet spot. It's not about doing too little, but it's certainly not about doing too much either. And once you find your sweet spot and you can bounce within your appropriate RPE, what happens over time as your health stabilizes and then you start to move forwards, then you can do more because your body can physiologically adapt to the stresses that you're placing upon it. And then we move into stage 2 and stage 3, where exactly what Steph's saying, that's when you can really start to push yourself and be okay because your capacity to adapt to physiological stress is higher, which means that it's not a problem. But because if you're really sick and you're really suffering, your body's already trying to adapt to all this physiological stress that's already happening in the body. So to push yourself even more in that stage is just so stupid. And this is where most people on the outside world don't understand it. And this is why exercise has such a bad name in the chronic illness community, is because it's so wrongly prescribed. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't have the awareness or education or understanding or experience. And then they see a chronic fatigue patient and they push them to an RPE of 8, 9, or 10 when they should only be down below a 3. And they wonder why they feel like crap. And so, yeah, this is a framework that we teach inside our program. Obviously, we go way deeper into it, but you get the gist of maybe why you've been redlining so much, is what we call it, where you're beyond your threshold for too long and your body's not adapting properly and appropriately.